Okay, on this one it says two planes are traveling towards each other at 720 miles apart. One plane is traveling at 40 miles per hour faster than the other. The plane passes at 0.75 hours. How fast is each plane traveling? Now, anytime I'm doing something by hand, I usually change things from decimals to fractions. And we know that 0.75 is 3/4. So that will make things a little nicer. If you don't know that 0.75 is 3/4, 0.75 is the same thing as 75 over 100. And then you just reduce, they're both, you think quarters. How many quarters are in 75? There's 3/4. How many quarters are in a dollar? There's 4/4. And so that's how you can get that. If you think about the distance, when they're traveling, they're 720 miles apart. So if you take this length right here, which I'm going to call 720, we end up getting 720, and then this is going to be the distance. I'm going to call this distance 1, and I'm going to call this distance 2. So if we add these distances together, you end up getting the full distance. So in other words, we get d1 plus d2, and that's all together going to be 720. So the distance of plane 1 plus the distance of plane 2 is going to be 720. Now, anytime we're dealing with distance, we're going to have this in the back of our head. Distance equals rate times time. It's just like that last one, which is going to be interest equals rate times time. By the way, if you are having a problem on question 63, this video will help. But just like last time we did interest equals rate times time, distance also equals rate times time, but rate here is a percentage and rate here is miles per hour. So what we need to do is we need to find d1 is going to be its rate and its time, and d2 is going to be its rate and its time. Now, we know the time for both of these. We know that d1 is going to be its time, which is going to be 3/4. And I'm just going to leave this as r1. So that's its time times its rate. I just changed it so you can actually, it looks nicer. d2 is going to be its time, which is also 3/4, because the time traveled to get to here and the time traveled to get here is exactly the same, and it's going to be 3/4. But the rate, it says right here that it's going to go 40 miles an hour faster than this guy, so I can actually just do this. It's going to be r1, this guy's rate, plus 40. Now, with all this information, if I plug this into here and this into here, we only have one variable. So we're going to go d1, so I'm going to use this equation right here. So we're going to go d1, which I know right here is going to be 3/4 r1, and then we're going to add it to d2, which is going to be 3/4 r1 plus 40, and altogether that's going to equal 720. Now, I'm going to have to reduce before I do anything else. So 3/4 r1 plus, now distribute, 3/4 r1 plus, now in this, for this one, let's do a little thought bubble. 3/4 multiplied by 40. We know the thing that we've been doing this whole time, instead of multiplying first, we're going to divide first. So 4 goes into 40 10 times, and 3 times 10 is just 30. And that equals 720. I'm going to combine these guys. I already have like terms, so it's going to be 6/4 r1 equals, and I'm going to subtract 30 to both sides. Now this is going to be 690. Best way to think of that is if I take away 20, it's going to be 700, but then I have to take away another 10, which ends up being 690. This reduces, right here reduces to be 3/2. And that'll make things nicer. Now, instead of multiplying both sides by 2 and then dividing both sides by 3, I'm just going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is going to be 2/3. And this is divisible by 3, which ends up giving you, so 6 is divisible by 3 too. So, and 9 is divisible by 3, so it actually makes things really easy to divide that out. So then you have R1 equals 230 times 2, which is going to be 460. So that is the first rate, which means R2, if you remember from up here, R2 is right here. Nope, it's right here. That's the one we want. Well, where's R2? I think we have an equation for R2. Oh, that's right. We never actually wrote it down. R2 is the first one plus 40. You can actually just find it from up here. Traveling 40 miles an hour faster. So it's going to be 40 more than this, which ends up giving you 500. So remember, when you're doing this, that we're going to have our units. And since it's a rate, it's going to be miles per hour. And this one's going to be miles per hour. And make sure that you do that. And then make sure that you actually... I don't like R1 and R2, so you need to say the planes are going 460 miles an hour and 500 miles per hour. Now that doesn't seem like it's right, but if you actually plug this stuff, well, what we need to do is we need to find their distances and make sure that these distances equals this 720. So in order to do that, we have to go this times 3/4, and this times 3/4, put those together and make sure that it equals 720. I'm not going to do it, but hopefully on a test that you'll know how to check your work.